and welcome to the Jason Corrine channel. Jason Corrine, the tenor, the opera singer, and guess what? I'm not Jason Corrine. I am his friend, however. My name is Ted Pirro, and the point of this video basically is just a biographical thing for you viewers to get to know Jason a little bit better, the way I know him. I've been good friends with him for a while. Going to find out some of his biographical information, as well as his influences, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of his techniques. So, without further ado, the maestro, tenor extraordinaire, Mr. Jason Corrine.
Well, thank you, Ted. It's very good to see you today.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you on the channel. Ted did a lot of film work in school, and that's his profession now as well. So it's very cool with film history, and he does great movie projects and things like that. So it's really cool to have him on the channel.
A lot of writing and script writing, and maybe one of these days someone will actually pay me to do it, but that's beside the point. So let's, and I've been curious. I've known you for a while. We're talking about at least a decade. When did you first get an interest in music? Can you recall when that was? Was that during childhood?
I would say at about 3-4 years old. My mom always tells the story that I used to be singing the national anthem for sports and things like that at like 3. And I don't really remember that, but I remember listening to my grandfather's and mother's records, the LPs in the room as a kid and singing along. But I never thought I would go into it as a profession until years later.
Now, you said you were listening to your grandparents' music. Was it opera, classical music, or was it more like pop music?
Not at all. Pop music. Yeah.
Sinatra, that type of stuff?
Yeah, Sinatra,
that was the era.
Judy Garland, any of that kind of thing.
All right.
I listen to anything. I still do.
And I seem to recall you saying that you used to imitate like Barry Manilow's songs,
yeah,
sing along.
He's always been a big influence and still is. I actually still like to sing his songs at karaoke events or parties. When people find out that I'm a singer, they always ask me to do it.
But you don't wear the sequins or anything when you're
No.
Okay, just so we got to get all this stuff on the record, folks.
Yeah.
But so when did you realize that you had a singing voice, and what or who motivated you to cultivate that and pursue that as a career? Can you recall that? Give us some insight on that.
Definitely. Junior high school, I saw the film Amadeus, and I immediately got hooked into opera.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started to copy what they were doing on there. I would hear the opera singing, and I said, wow, I could do it. But I never even thought about doing it professionally until my early 20s, when I began working at customer service jobs at Lord & Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, people just heard me sing, and people there used to have me sing at events and things like that, parties. And I said, why not? And the story that how I got into it, when I was still in my very early 20s, a lady that used to cut my hair said, hey, there's a woman that's one of my clients here that used to sing at the Met, and she is a teacher now. So, I auditioned for her, and I've been doing it ever since.
All right, so you had not had any type of training at all. You're about 20, 21 at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But what I used to do is, like I said, for a few years before that, I used to just be able to copy what they were singing by listening on Channel 13 to the Met broadcast.
Right.
And I noticed I could do it, but I never even thought about it professionally until a few years later.
And you got feedback from like family and stuff. Your mom wanted to say, hey, that's pretty darn good. You actually, sound close to the, and you're a tenor.
Yes.
Is your range. Okay. And you said that Amadeus really inspired you to learn more about classical singing and opera and everything. Now, for those who don't know, your all-time favorite composer is
Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Mozart, yeah. And how many operas did he compose?
22. But there's always at least 7 or 8 of them that are always in the standard repertoire.
And I want to tell you,
but they're all good.
Well, you play the Marriage of Figaro for me, and we'll get to your favorite opera momentarily. I haven't forgotten about that. And as a big rock fan, I'm a fan of classic rock and classic British heavy rock from the 70s, and you realize you don't realize the impact that classical music has on some of these great bands. So when he showed me the Marriage of Figaro, and I'm listening to some of the vocal orchestration, I'm saying, that's where Queen got that from, because obviously for music education in Europe, the classical influences is more predominant in the curriculum, as opposed to in the States, the background is more jazz and more I'd say probably country music, folk music is probably, I remember from my music, from the music classes and instruction that I would have, and just the basics, primary school curriculum, high school curriculum, that seemed to be more the foundation of American music classes. All right, so you're into Amadeus, and obviously that's about Mozart, that you start watching the operas at Channel 13 right away.
Absolutely. Pretty much right after Amadeus, I looked in in TV Guide at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it says Mozart Don Giovanni, recorded from the Metropolitan Opera at the time. And it's a very famous series that started in the 70s that still goes on until today
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And I saw who's one of my favorite singers of all time now, Samuel Ramey, as Don Giovanni, and I was just hooked.
Yes.
I was.
So that's when the light bulb went off. That was the eureka
Yeah,
moment.
I have to do this.
That is awesome. And we mentioned that your all-time favorite opera is Don Giovanni. How many times have you seen it live?
Live, I would say at least 11 or 12 now at the Met. And in concert performances, maybe 3 or 4 as well.
Fantastic. And nothing beats that first time that you saw Matei do it on that broadcast on Channel 13.
Yeah, when Ramey did it the time in the 90s, and then I was able to see him do it live at the Met in Don Giovanni, but he played Leporello, the servant character.
Right.
And Peter Mattei, one of the great singers of today, was Don Giovanni. So that was one of the great things as well.
Would you say Sam Raimi, even though he was a bass,
Yes.
would you say he's your primary influence, or just the one who really was the catalyst, the guy who inspired to?
Him and Placido Domingo. There's many, as most opera singers always have, like 4 or 5 that got them into it. And I've got my like genres of it, soprano and those. I have my favorites.
Oh, right off the top of your head, if you just said such as 5 important singers to you.
With soprano, Maria Callas, mezzo, Tatiano Troyanos, uh, baritone, Cheryl Milnes, and bass, Samuel Ramey, tenor, Domingo, Placido Domingo.
Okay. And when did you start going to the Met?
1996, I started going. I got a season ticket subscription while I was still working at Lord and Taylor, and my grandfather and I used to go down by car and just have amazing nights there. We went for many years until he passed away. Every season, and I still have not stopped going since.
Outstanding. Now, in school, I know you were involved doing acting. Were there any musical or singing roles involved in that?
No craziness, but I did mostly just acting, just stage roles, nothing singing, and it's crazy because what I do now, I would have loved that back then.
So you said basically you were 2021 when you started doing the training. Now, we had this conversation today off camera.
Mm-hmm.
There's a misconception that you opera singers start training young, maybe even prepubescent. And I was saying 2021 kind of sounds late to be initiating vocal training, but you were saying that's actually when the voice comes into maturation.
Yeah, a lot of singers start very young, but you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing opera until early 20s. If you start singing some stuff at 18, maybe do some Italian songs or something, not anything big. And I do that with my teaching as well. I won't have anyone do big stuff until they're in their 20s because why? You don't want to mess up a career. People do it and they burn out.
Now, to the layman who might not know that they're obviously the Wagnerian stuff is way more intense than what you would call lyrical singing. Can you explain the styles and the differences just to the person who might be a novice in the opera world?
Yeah, the Wagner is very heavy, dramatic music. And a lot of those operas last 4, 5, 6 hours.
Wow.
And
that is intense. It's the Metallica of opera.
Now, myself, I love it because I've been in the business a while and I enjoy, I'll go see it. But for someone who's just getting into opera, I would never bring them to a Wagner opera.
Oh, yeah, I
Bring them
understand.
later after a few
Right.
times.
You don't want to, you want to ease yourself into it.
Yeah, I love the Wagner stuff, like I said, but I wouldn't bring some new person to it.
And what about I had referenced lyrical. What's the difference between the Wagner, the Wagnerian, and the
The
lyrical
lyrical
tenor?
is more like flowing melodic music,
Hmm.
like and the Wagnerian is very dramatic, powerful, horns blowing, the huge 200
What?
piece orchestra.
Hmm.
The lyrical is more less orchestrations, like Mozart, Rossini, all the bel canto style, which means beautiful singing.
Would that be considered, for lack of a better term, the pop music of opera
No,
or light opera?
you would do more. The pop would be like operetta, which is like Broadway music.
Right, and that would be oh gosh, I did the Pirates of Penzance,
Yes,
Gilbert and
yes,
Sullivan. There
yes.
you
Which
go.
I've done as well. Pirates of Penzance. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a lighter style. That's not
Yes, that's more light than say even a Mozart or the Rossini, which is difficult, but it's not like the huge orchestrations in Wagner where you got to project because there's no microphones in
right.
opera.
All right, and someone wouldn't do a Wagner piece two nights in a row, and I understand in rehearsals they might even mark it
Right.
so they don't burn their voice out.
Unless you're callous. She did that at the beginning of her career, but
All right, so we'll get back to your history now. 2021, who was that initial teacher who helped you develop the craft?
oh yes, Lucy Bell Anderson. She was a singer from the Metropolitan Opera, mezzo
Hmm.
soprano, and she sang in the 70s there. And I loved working with her. I'm based out of Danbury, but I went to Reading, Connecticut every
Hmm.
week for about 6 months with her, just doing vocal exercises and showing me. She was very impressed with me, saying that she thought that I was already a trained musician, being what I learned in the few years before I started seeing her. Um, I did a lot of just learning basic music, scales, things like that,
Hmm.
and
Breath control, is
breath
it?
control, everything like that. And then she had moved away to California
Mhm.
after about 6 months. Um, so I just learned what I learned from her and just stayed alone for a little while and went into New York after that.
How did you? Didn't you have? If and correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to elaborate further, you had some sort of scholarship and a program that was based out of. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. That prestigious
Oh,
school.
yes, the Metropolitan Opera's Young Artist Program
Okay,
through an agent, though.
okay.
Yep.
So it wasn't a scholarship, and there was
No,
you had to pay to be part of the program.
yep, it was George Marchinux. He's a famous agent in New York City.
Hmm.
His firm represented Jerry Hadley, the famous American tenor from years ago. It was a big honor. I auditioned for him and assistant conductor from the Metropolitan Opera, actually. And it was a very cool audition. Got accepted with him. Um, and then it was just, you know, it was too much money to be able to do the program at the time because of as we'll talk about the kidney stuff a little bit later
Right.
on in the interview.
Let's talk about some about roles.
Yeah.
Your favorite roles, other that you've seen other people do, and ones that you performed yourself. What would you say are some of the greatest parts for you that you have sung? We'll start with that
For me,
first.
I love the Duke in Rigoletto. I did it in at Juilliard.
Hmm.
When my teacher left to go to California, uh, I was accepted by one of the best voice teachers at Juilliard, Barbara Lowen.
That's what Juilliard was the school I was thinking
Yes,
about. I was alluding to earlier.
yep, I was accepted by her, and I didn't go to the school. I just studied privately with her, but we did some concerts in New York there at the Juilliard School, and I really love doing the Duke because it's like for me it's the closest thing to Don Giovanni as a tenor.
Right.
He's a seducer, a crazy, he's a nobleman that runs the house.
A real scoundrel
A
and
scoundrel.
something you can chew a little bit of a character you love
Those
to
are
hate. You can
those are
chew
the
a little
best
scenery.
roles. And for a tenor, we don't get to do that often. It's
Mhm.
usually the baritones or the basses that do
Right.
those kind of particular roles.
What about as a fan? I mean, you mentioned Samuel Ramey doing Don Giovanni before. I know
Yes.
that's your all-time favorite, but maybe a couple of others that
Yeah. One of my
always
other
stick in
big
your memory.
influences is Placido Domingo and hearing him as Othello.
Oh yes,
I
I think we
got to see,
watched that one
yes,
night.
we did.
Yeah.
And I got to hear him do that at the Met before he stopped as a tenor,
Mhm.
before he's no longer at the Met, but we'll save that for another time.
Wow. And what are kind of rituals for training? I mean, we'll get to we know that you had to do a sabbatical for a while because you had kidney issues, which we'll discuss momentarily. But what were some of the training rituals? How intense were your practices before the injury really your illness really
For me, uh,
affected you?
before the illness, it was easy for me. I would be able to do just small vocalizing. Now I do very little with vocalizing. I could do maybe like a 5 minute warm up because I've been doing it
Hmm.
now for 20 years. But before I would do, a few vocal exercises, about 15 minutes worth, and
Yeah.
then get into the like the small Italian songs because I was a beginner. I just kind of copied and mimicked things before.
Hmm.
But once I started official training, it was just I was doing the small Italian songs before you get into the really big stuff, like the Puccini, Verdi, and those kind of things.
And you found like gradually the stamina was increasing, or
Yeah,
right from the get go
right from the get go,
you
I
could
was
do
able to.
a 2 hour
Yeah, I was singing.
practice.
I was singing the Duke and Rigoletto, which is good Verdi music.
Hmm.
I was able to do that at like 25, 26 years old.
All right, and you've done a
It's
few.
harder for me to do now because I've had to work very hard after all the surgeries and everything.
Let's talk about your illness. Now you
Yeah,
have explain exactly to the people who don't know
yeah,
why you took a sabbatical for a while.
absolutely. I was born with a bad ureter in the kidney on the right side and
Mhm.
didn't know anything about it until I was like 37, 38 years old. Um, I ended up, I try to exercise religiously every day,
Mhm.
and I was outside doing a long walk, and actually I kept feeling tightness in the chest, like I was having like I thought it was maybe a flu or something because I never had anything like that
Right.
before. And so I checked myself into a hospital. 5 days later, they diagnosed me with an enlarged kidney, and the tube from the bladder to the kidney was pinched because of all of this stuff going on.
Hmm.
My blood pressure shot up to almost 300.
Wow.
Yeah, spent
So that was definitely a
mm,
serious
yeah,
health
yeah.
issue for
And
sure.
we waited about a year. The doctors and I mean, we waited about a year before we did anything about it because I didn't want to go through a surgery right away.
Hmm.
And the doctors that
That's a
we,
major life choice, and you
yeah,
wanted to think about some of
yeah,
your options were. I
yeah.
totally understand that.
So I actually went back to singing for almost a year, just doing smaller things, maybe churches and things like that, and trying to get the resume up to where it is now.
Hmm.
And then I was at my 9 to 5 job at Lord and Taylor, and I turned green and almost passed out on
Wow.
the ground and ended up having to do the surgery. So what they did was they went laparoscopically and opened the tube from the bladder to the kidney,
Hmm.
and
See, the phones are ringing off the hook because they're anxious to book him for singing
we'll
engagements.
just let it ring because
Okay,
you know.
but okay, you were saying.
Yeah, so I went back to singing. We had the surgery, and then I just went back to work again. Did work and then went back to singing. Did some more operatic things in Danbury and
Hmm.
then Stamford, Connecticut, and New
My
York.
hometown.
Yeah, and in New York. And then about a year later, in the exact same spot where we did the first operation,
Right.
I was diagnosed with a cancerous tumor.
That's right. But you were able to
Yeah,
successfully recover from that. I remember that.
yeah. They actually had to. This time they had to do the surgery openly because they did a procedure before.
Hmm.
So they didn't want to mess it up. So they ripped me open. It was a lot. That was the worst recovery. And because now my
Right.
kidney is still deteriorated now because of all those surgeries.
Hmm.
And I'm to the point now where we might take it out, but we might not. So I'm just working hard each day to get back to doing
And so
everything.
basically, at the present time, your mindset is to it has affected the stamina of singing, and you're just
Yes,
gradually trying to build that back.
yes, but now since the summer was so hot, that was the thing that got me the most. But
Hmm.
vocally, I'm fine. I still this time I still kept practicing. The
Hmm.
previous surgeries with the cancer and everything, I I shut it down completely. At least this time I still kept myself active a little bit, practicing and things like
All
that.
right, so you'd say at vocally now you feel you're at full strength.
Yeah, I mean, I can still. I took a few weeks off because of the heat and everything, because that
Hmm.
affects me very badly. And luckily, opera season is in the winter and fall.
Right.
So
I suppose it's like every muscle. I mean, you have to, the practice, put those 10,000 hours in, and it just build and build and get stronger.
absolutely.
Are you very big on, like, say, recording yourself and maybe analyzing the
Not
performances?
really with that. I have coaches for that. I had a great coach in New York after my surgery, Bryant Montgomery. He's one of the great baritones, sings all over the world. He did a lot with me. He got me. I credit him with getting my voice back to what it is now.
Great.
He's from the Met in New York, and I did a lot of rehearsals in the studios right next to the Met. So it was very very cool. Big dream to be doing
That's
work and things
awesome.
like that.
And what you've done, you mentioned the church, the odd church gigs here or there. Would you like to mention some of the roles that you've played, or some of
Yeah,
the churches you've sung at?
definitely. St. Thomas in New York City on Fifth Avenue. I love doing that. St. Agnes, which is pretty close to Grand Central Station.
Hmm.
Beautiful acoustics. They're all like Roman Catholic style churches. I did
Must be really good to look at as well.
very pretty to look at, and it sounds wonderful inside with the music and everything and the acoustics, because it's all real acoustics, like in an opera house or a concert hall.
Probably designed for sound.
Yeah, and that was awesome. I've been doing a lot of church work in the last few years, getting back to the operas again.
Right.
But I definitely want to be back doing more opera then.
Now, do you have an email or something if somebody has inquired about perhaps hiring you for a specific gig, or even a personal gig, or a dinner, or a wedding?
Yeah, Jason Kareen on LinkedIn is my professional page.
Mhm.
So JasonCarrine on LinkedIn. And then I also have on YouTube, Jason Kareen Lyric Tenor, this, and my regular email, jkareen@yahoo.com.
And for an extra $20, he will jump out of a cake. So that's just because we're going along. People want to know about you personally, and I find that you have a lot of great. One of the reasons why we're such good friends is you have a lot of diverse interests. One of them is your passion for film, particularly some of the golden age.
Absolutely.
I notice a pattern here because the classic operas and the classic films. So you know the golden age, the Bogarts and the Errol Flynn, one of your favorites,
That's
right?
my all-time favorite actor, and I will give him. I should have said it when you asked me about singers, but when I first saw him as a little kid with my grandfather laying down on the floor watching the TV,
Hmm.
I saw Errol Flynn's movies, and I knew I wanted to be like an actor in some
A
kind of
performer.
performer.
Right.
Just seeing him in those costumes that are. He played Don Juan, the Don Giovanni story. So
Yeah, Jason and I have a kind of an informal film society. Like once a month, we'll come over and watch. I
absolutely.
have a passion for movies from the '70s and exploitation flicks, and he really got me into a lot. Appreciate more of the golden age movies and
Yeah. And he
the Billy.
returned the favor with Tarantino
That's
movies.
right. And like the Billy Wilders, and he got me into the film noir, definitely, without a doubt. He opened my mindset to that, and of course, he's a big sports fan. We're
Yes.
we're both long-suffering New York Mets fans in baseball. The less said about
Yes.
this season, the better.
Absolutely.
I noticed you were. He's also a huge Jets fan, as despite the present situation with the quarterback, which
So
we
we're gonna be good. So I want to be positive about it.
He's right. He's very much a big fan on that, and Knicks fan as well. We both
Yes.
are fond of boxing and combat sports and hockey. It's let me got this. The New York Rangers.
Oh, Islanders.
Okay, the Islanders, and they have a good chance to be competitive this year. And and what is there any other interests that perhaps I forgot that some
Uh,
people get to know you a bit
just
better?
I also enjoy the rock and roll like yourself. Love the Beatles, that kind of thing. Any kind of music. I'm
We
pretty much into
we
listening to
also
that.
share a common hero in George Carlin.
Yes. Yes. I
Without a
almost forgot
doubt.
that.
Well, that's outstanding. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think we pretty much did the big stuff, and I've done some stuff on the channel as well about past things. So
Absolutely. Well, keep watching the channel. Thanks for taking the time
yes, thank
to
you.
find out a little bit more about my pal here, and have yourself a great weekend. Great day in general.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you to my subscribers, and I look forward to doing some more cool stuff.
And if you haven't subscribed, you want to click